The world will give you $10 million for your kisses and 10 cents for your soul. Keeping it Big Ben. Keeping it Big Ben is a true story based on the time spent with Benjamin Franklin. And the significant role he plays in the United States deficit. Benjamin Franklin was acquainted with Willie Wesson. They met after the Civil War and they began hanging out with one another. This is a picture of the Benjamin Franklin that was acquainted with Willie Wesson. Benjamin hung around the Wessons and the Buffalo Soldiers after the Civil War. Benjamin was probably not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he was useful. When the Buffalo Soldiers returned home back to the North from fighting the war, they began to trade and build with the wealth they had earned. One of the things that the Wessons were working on was a railroad system. And Benjamin Franklin assisted with laying the tracks. Benjamin was not very well spoken and was learning how to read and write when he became acquainted with the Wessons. Now, Benjamin Franklin helped with housework and yard keeping at the Wessons' home, and they paid him for his services.
You just be letting it sit in your bag, you don't afford it.
He did not live in the house where the help in the service lived, but he did come out and do yard work. in addition to working on the railroad
Uh-uh.
tracks in downtown
Right.
Seattle,
You,
Washington.
you could you could you could stop there. Just stop there. Just stop there. I know you're afraid to take it there.
Now, Benjamin was about 10 years older than Willie Wesson. And
Drinks are good.
Buffalo Bill was really concerned
I gotta stop,
that
bro. I
Willie
vibe with him in my chest now.
was hanging out with someone so much older than him. And so Buffalo Bill would make some remarks like, is this guy all there? What's going on? Is this guy all with it? He just found it rather strange that Benjamin would take a liking to Little Willie. All the soldiers are around, and there are guys his age around, but he just kind of tagged along with Little Willie. So he asked Little Willie, What's up with this guy?"
That man
Now,
tripping.
Buffalo Bill ran the North Army for the Union during the Civil War. So he was used to all kinds of people, but he just found Benjamin rather odd. Nonetheless, Little Willie, in defense, explained to Buffalo Bill that Benjamin was useful with laying the tracks and that he also was helpful with the yard. He did the yard work at the house. And then Lil Willie said, and I think I'm going to start having him help me carry
Bro, that might be
the
my favorite
coins.
part.
Because the coins were heavy, and after a while, the bags began to become every
You know what
every
happened?
every day
But like,
more
at first it
heavier.
looked so much worse.
And he thought he could use Benjamin as extra hands.
So on
Now,
the other end to the
when
program,
George Washington heard about
no, I think it just came out of nowhere.
Benjamin Franklin, George Washington treated him as if
What
something
happened?
was wrong with him, and he did not want anyone to take advantage of Benjamin Franklin. So George Washington encouraged him
What
to
happened with
hang
the
with
soldiers?
Lil Willie. Lil Willie was a smart guy. He could teach him a lot. And then you had John Smith. And John Smith
Yeah.
also fought with the Nisqually Army, Buffalo Soldiers. And John
You're a background noise right now.
made a statement, and he mentioned that he would only up people if he thought they were beneath him. He said Little Willie was much younger than him, and so he would be nice to people that he thought would be beneath him. And John had noticed it too, and so people were just weighing in on his peculiar actions and behaviors.
Because when you mention all that,
Now, John Smith fought in the war with Buffalo Bill, and they were very close. You can say almost like family. And
okay, I want to hear
John
this story
Smith
because I'm stuck in the
had
story and
actually
I want to hear
made
both.
a Trey 57 Smith and Wesson gun with the help of Buffalo
Okay,
Bill.
facts, facts.
Now, they had accomplished so much, and John understood how it felt to be an outsider because John Smith was a white man. So he really did try to give Benjamin Franklin the benefit of the doubt, but he could not help but notice that he only wanted to interact with someone beneath him. Now, then you have Freddie Ford. Now, Freddie Ford also fought along the side of Buffalo Bill,
I'm gonna get a Mustang.
and Freddie Ford was adamant, adamant that if we were the army, that we had to up our own people, and we did not want to do Benjamin Franklin any harm. So, in the meanwhile, the Buffalo Soldiers and the Weston family allowed Benjamin to continue to hang out and earn money. Again, they were laying tracks downtown Seattle trying to get the trolleys running, and Benjamin Franklin was a part of that process. Also, Little Willie would carry these bags of coins all throughout the downtown Seattle area as they would trade back and forth through Pike Place Market. And Little Willie understood that he was the wingman or the running man, and he understood how valuable and helpful it could be to have another person carry these bags of coins, and that would be less work for him and less back and forth for Lil Willie. So Lil Willie sided with him. Now, George Washington was pretty much the leader, and he built everything, and he pretty much set up the logistics and the agenda for what was going to be done next. And so George Washington decided to allow Benjamin Franklin in and to make him feel more welcome and not to shun him. So they were all giving him the benefit of the doubt, trying to see if is this guy really off or is he just trying to fit in. And so they were nevertheless somewhat patient with his behaviors and inadequacies. Now, Lil Willie was younger, but you gotta understand, Lil Willie was 8 years old when John Smith and Buffalo Bill created the Trey 57, the 357 Smith & Wesson. So when Buffalo Bill and John Smith created the Trey 57, Lil Willie was 8 years old, and I do believe Buffalo Bill allowed Little Willie to shoot the gun. And from my understanding, Little Willie was the second person that had ever shot the gun. Buffalo Bill being the first one, and then allowing Lil Willie to try to shoot the Trey 57. That being said, Little Willie fought in the war. Little Willie was a major reason why they won the war. He carried the Star Spangled Banner flag, and that's was one of the tactics on how they actually won against the South. The Star Spangled flag was the Old Glory flag. It had stars in a circle, dark blue flag. Little Willie rode from one side and had them thinking that it was people coming because the stars looked like the eyes that were glistening. And then the Buffalo Soldiers came in and attacked from the other side. So when Little Willie rode with that Old Glory flag, all of the bullets and all of the guns were aimed at him. And so Little Willie was a Who Rider. And for his bravery, he received a Medal of Honor from George Washington
Instead of walking to school,
for going above and beyond the Call of Duty.
if I need
So,
to go to Batesburg,
Lil
just
Willie
take me in the trunk.
wanted people to understand that he was younger, but he was a Wesson,
Right.
and the Wessons were buffaloes, and he was born into this lifestyle. So I think that a lot of times it was just expected for him to go and run errands and do things because he was the youngest one in the bunch. But as he got older, I think he was much more wiser than people could ever imagine because of his experience and his time spent growing up around soldiers and as a soldier. Now, this is another picture of Benjamin, Benjamin Franklin.
You should.
Now, at this point, Benjamin, they've been around each other for, let's say it's going on 3 years now. Um, Black Wall Street is a idea now because now they have found oil from going all these places during the war, and so now they all have agreed to kind of stick together, and
Yeah,
so
I started to write it down too.
George Washington, being the leader that he was, really just tried to nurture Benjamin Franklin and really treat him as a study and to try to teach Benjamin. So there was a lot of behaviors that were not soldier-like, and as far as the Buffalo Soldiers were concerned, they were not um, normal to what they were used to. Nonetheless, Willie found the need for Benjamin to keep helping him with these coins because business was booming and there was more money, more coins, and so because of the extra help hands, they kept Benjamin around. It wasn't a job that required any particular skill set, but he was extra help hands. Now, remember the coins, each coin weighed 0.25, and that's why they were called quarters. So they weighed in metric. So you got to remember, British Columbia, they actually use the
I
metric
said one
system.
thing about it too.
And so this silver quarter was worth 0.25 in silver. And
Right.
after a while, you have these big, huge bags of silver and you're carrying them around all throughout town and your back is hurting. So, because of that,
Is that a piece?
Little Willie thought that it was good to keep him around because it was helping him. However, after a while, Little Willie went and talked to Benjamin because, again, George Washington came and said, "What's up with this guy?" Buffalo Bill asked, "What's up with this guy?" And he understood what Freddie Ford was saying about taking care of your own, but he was feeling the heat for all of the actions and the behaviors that Benjamin was carrying on with. So Lil Willie pulls Benjamin to the side, like, wait a minute, dude, you ain't acting right, you know what I'm saying? And we didn't let you in, we didn't let you know where we live at, you know where the coins are, and you getting lippy like, you don't need us. And he said, we're kind people, but they're not gonna let you do that. So he was letting them know, we get down, we get all the way down. We kind, but if you cross us, we ain't playing with you. And so Benjamin's behavior still went on. And again, they really felt like maybe he has some mental issues because of his behavior. Nevertheless, in this picture that he's in now, after they took the picture, he stuck his head under the woman's skirt and said he wanted some crackers with his tuna fish and thought that that was very funny. And all of the soldiers and people there that was around just couldn't believe that he acted in such a manner. And so uh, people just start, the woman complained, and then people just start, complaining and voicing their opinion. Some guys were saying they didn't feel comfortable at night when they was sleeping because he started walking, asking if they want a massage, and just all kinds of things that they didn't feel comfortable with. Now, mind you, he did not fight in the war with the Buffalo Soldiers. So because he didn't fight in this war with the Buffalo Soldiers, maybe they were not bonding with him and they felt like he was an outsider. But it was not just that. His behavior was disturbing. So Benjamin still tried to kind of play it off and giggle it off. But as time went on, people would shun him and let him know that his behavior was not acceptable. Now, what happened was Buffalo Bill started noticing that Little Willie started shunning him. Now, when Little Willie started shunning him and acting like he did not want to be bothered with him, there really wasn't any reason for Benjamin Franklin to be hanging around them. Now, they knew that, and Benjamin knew that his behavior was unacceptable, but the risk was Benjamin knew about all of their money. Benjamin knew about the Federal Reserves, the silver that was kept in the Federal Reserves. He knew how they made the silver, how they stamped the faces on the silver. He knew how the house and how the house was arranged and the entries of the houses, how you can get in and out of the main house. And he just went on just knowing that he understood about the monies. He understood all their business about the stocks. He understood all of their next moves. So, I believe Little Willie felt some sort of kind of way like, keep your enemies even closer, because if we let this guy go, then he's going to tell everybody about our business and what we're doing. So, I think after a while, it became evident that Little Willie was going to have to let him go. Now, he understood that the Federal Reserve was where all of the money was being kept in the Federal Building, and this is where they had made the money. He understood the process on how they made the money, on how much the goods would cost for the money, and how they traded goods. So, he began to mouth off because he felt like he could do the same thing they were doing. Now, this is one of the reasons why it's not good to meddle with folks. Because when you teach someone something, a specific task that you might want them to do for you, after doing it for 3 weeks, then they try to join the conversation with the elders as if they have an opinion or can make a decision. And so they have realized that they had shared too much of their information with Mr. Benjamin Franklin. Now, Mr. Benjamin Franklin was not someone otherwise they would socialize with or be with. but for the fact they needed yard work done and they needed someone to help carry their coins and they needed the actual work done. Now, it was approximately about 13 years from start to finish that they acquainted themselves with Benjamin Franklin. Now that evening, when Buffalo Bill seen that little Willie was pretty much shunning him and irritated, maybe they got into it, who knows, but Buffalo Bill picked up on that. So Buffalo Bill pulls Benjamin Franklin to the side, and Buffalo Bill addresses his behaviors, and he's pretty much saying that there's a lot of perversion, a lot of people complaining about this and about that, and now Benjamin Franklin is feeling some sort of kind of way. Now you got to understand, this is someone that could not read or write, that did not have a lot of money, so he did not respect the authority. He did not fight in the army, and so he kind of looked at Buffalo Bill like Buffalo Bill was small. Like who were you? And that's when Buffalo Bill pretty much said, because again being military leader, that if you do not like it here, that you was free to leave. You could leave. Now, that evening, Benjamin Franklin packed his things and he left. He didn't respond back and he didn't defend himself. And so when he left, the Buffalo Bill felt some sort of kind of way, as if did he in fact put Benjamin Franklin out? Did Benjamin Franklin understood that he had a choice? He could say that he didn't have to leave. And so he was feeling that all the while. Now, about 2 months passed by, and Buffalo Bill is moving and grooving. Alberta, who's married to John Smith, who's related to Buffalo Bill, and Tracy, they have what they call a tea party or high tea. Now, high tea is a tradition of the Westons, and they would get together and they would drink tea, and they would come up with the next big idea on how to keep their brand going. Now, everyone was not allowed to sit in this tea party. But one day, Benjamin Franklin had that opportunity, and he couldn't believe how smart and how intelligent and the things that were being done. And so this, I believe, is where you get the tea party from. Now, Alberta was a good looker and a good cooker. And so Alberta would bake pies and would sit back. Now, everyone in the camp understood that when Alberta gets quiet, somebody is not on our side that is among us. And so they would notice that about Benjamin. Now, Alberta goes back, maybe 3-4 days before this conversation that Buffalo Bill has with Benjamin Franklin, and she tells George Washington and Buffalo Bill that she did not trust Benjamin, and she heard that Benjamin was in Chicago, and that Benjamin had showed an artist how to write their paper bills. Now, Alberta understood what that meant, that she had to go to Chicago to find out who was running this con. So Alberta gets herself together, goes to travel to Chicago, gets to Chicago. She gets to Chicago. She's asking around, trying to find out what's the deal. She heard about Benjamin. Benjamin's in Chicago, and Benjamin got the bills, and so now she's in Chicago, trying to get the 411, picking around, trying to find out who's who and what's what. Now, while she's there, another Buffalo Soldier comes in and lets all the Chicago people know, hey, this is Annie, this is Lil Willie people. They run with Buffalo Bill. Ain't you Buffalo Bill's sister, cousin? That he's asking them. So now Chicago's like, oh, so now Chicago is like, okay, well, if this is the real person and the real money's with them. So now Chicago and the scheme to, we can get rich for real. We ain't got to run the con to get rich. We can get them and rob them. So now she's starting to feel the heat. So now she goes back and she lets Lil Willie and all of them know that, hey, Benjamin and took everything we have tied him to Chicago, and they found Lewis, a white man named Lewis and a white man named Clark. And Lewis and Clark stayed up for Benjamin Franklin. They understand Benjamin Franklin was slow, and they understood Benjamin Franklin was not really one of the Wessons, but the Wessons let him in. And then they understood that Benjamin Franklin really didn't understand everything they was doing, but Lewis and Clark understood the con. So Clark knew how to draw, and from that point on, it was on. Now, Lil Willie is hearing that Benjamin Franklin is in Chicago with a ton of money. Now, Lil Willie is trying to figure out how Benjamin Franklin get a ton of money. Because he ain't been a money. How he get a ton of money? How he leave and get a ton of money? Now they get word back. Patrick Savage. Patrick Savage was also working with the Wessons and was also a Buffalo Soldier and fought in the war with the Wessons. And Patrick Savage says, because he's in charge of alcohol, and the alcohol in Washington State was legal because Washington State owned alcohol. So now Patrick Savage is saying, man, Lil Willie, is you crazy? Do you know that Benjamin Franklin is in Chicago right now? They said Benjamin Franklin is doing the most in Chicago right now. He said that you is crazy, Lil Willie, if you ever thought you was up. And he said y'all all crazy. He said y'all don't know up from down. And if y'all think y'all up, y'all all down. So Patrick just carrying on about how Benjamin Franklin is got a ton of money and is telling everybody in Chicago That they retarded. Y'all, the Westerns is retarded. And if y'all want to, y'all can take their money and now, Lil Willie hearing this, Lil Willie hearing Patrick Savage say this, and Lil Willie Weston like, wait a minute. Lil Willie Weston saying, I'm Willie Weston right now. You can't even say nothing like that to me. He ready to fight Patrick Savage for Patrick Savage just saying it. Now, in Patrick Savage's defense, he ain't really knowing what's going on. He just know that Benjamin Franklin was with us, but Benjamin Franklin ain't with us no more. So he's really trying to see what's going on. But Lil Willie see something right then and there. He got an inclination of what was going on. He said, okay, so Benjamin Franklin is drawing money and acting like he got money. He said, well, Benjamin Franklin ain't got no money. So he started laughing. Now, Patrick Savage said, well, they say he got a ton of it in Chicago. He said, that ain't no real money. He said, Willie said, them paper dollars, man, them is paper, just paper. Lil Willie is explaining to him that the Federal Reserves is what they did so that they didn't have to carry all them coins around. He said, for every 0.25 in silver, we created paper dollars. See, George Washington decided, our bird, Little Willie, everybody carrying these coins, we tired of carrying these coins around. Now, Alberta was really the first one and the main one because she felt like after a while, with all these stagecoach robberies, we gonna have to shoot a whole bunch of people now because Lil Willie gonna say we and send Benjamin out there with these fake paper dollar bills. Benjamin gonna say we got the real silver. Now, he understood, George Washington understood what Little Willie was saying. Little Willie was saying he running a con. He ain't got no silver. Them people ain't gonna get no silver with that paper. He running the con. And they all started laughing. But George Washington seen a little bit farther. George Washington said he's running a con. But if nobody knows, then this con could go on for a long time. And he could see that having silver with your face on it is having silver. And having a piece of paper with your face on it is having a piece of paper with your face on it. And although Alberta said it would be safer, they seen that it was room for a con. Because anybody can make paper and put their face on it. See, after they traded the silver in and they created dollar bills, again named after Buffalo Bill, and they created these bills, and they created one, a $2 bill, and a $5 bill. Now, people that had a lot of money and wanted to do big business, well, $5 was a lot. If $5 was worth 0.25 silver, do you understand what I'm saying? So, it was worth £5. That's for $5. And $1, you had a pound. $2, you had 2 pounds. And he understood that silver was silver, and people understood that coin was silver, and it was worth something. Silver was worth something. So when he told them that he was tired of carrying the silver around, they were going to give notes, bills now, and these bills were notes. It was a note from Bill that said that this is good. This dollar is good for these many pieces of silver, for this amount of silver. Anytime you want to trade this dollar bill in for silver, you can do it because I've accounted for all of the quarters that I have made, and I've made dollars in place of it, and I will track it, and this is still will be the amount. So they made ones, and they made twos, and they made fives. Yeah, £1, £2, or £5. Now remember, 1/4 fills up one bag of groceries. So, George Washington is bittersweet about it. He understands it's not his real silver and somebody is just using paper. And they conning a lot of people with paper. And that's how they looked at it. So, now Ardretta went to Oklahoma and they began to print some more of their bills. And when she went to Oklahoma to print her bills, the ones, the $2 bill, and the $5 bill, everybody realized that the bills in Chicago were not real bills. Because when she printed them, they seemed for sure Federal Reserve. See, the ones that were printed in Chicago didn't have the Federal Reserve symbols, so a ton of them were printed without the Federal Reserve symbol. Now, when Benjamin Franklin and Lewis and Clark got wind that the Russians had printed more bills, they said, well, we can do that too. They went and they began to print different number bills. They started printing $10 bills. They even went as far as, then this is the hoax, they stuck Benjamin Franklin's face on one. They said, you were seen with him, we'll put your face on one. They stuck Benjamin Franklin's face on one and put his on a $100 bill. Now, remember George Washington, the president, he got all the silver. And $1 is a whole pound of silver. So what's $100 in silver? Yeah. Anyhow, when the Westerns got wind that Benjamin Franklin is not just using your $1 bills anymore with the Federal Reserve missing off of it, they have went And then made $100 bill and stuck the Federal Reserve somewhere on that.
It's hot dollars, yeah.
When the Westerns got wind of that, they start laughing. They said that that nigga is crazy, and whoever fought for that is crazy than him.
Hot hot dollars is
They laughed. They got a kick out of that one. They said 100 pounds. They know this dude ain't even got no shoes. They were saying his shoes was falling off his. Now they laughed, but they sing all the way up for the first time in their life
bro. This nigga's finding the singing. Ardretta Jones singing to him.
that they were the ones that were up, and they were the ones that had the real silver, the real goods, the real talent to create what you really wanted. But people would still try to go over them. And they knew they was the different, but they would still try anyway. The $1 bill, the $2 bill, the $5 bill. That is £1 in the $1 bill. 1 pound. 0.25 real silver. After a while, it had gotten so out of control that Chicago started printing it too. Not just Lewis and Clark and Benjamin Franklin, but anybody that knew how to draw can print them something up. And there it was. Everybody started drawing money and printing it up. Now, when Alberta heard about it, that it had just become a terrible mess, Alberta said if they're that desperate, then we better be careful because they're going to eventually find out that everybody's broke
Yep, yep.
except for the one with money, and then they're going to come for
Yep,
us.
they're gonna get twisted.
And Alberta was right.
Or trust.
Second front.
Of course it was.
Someone came and both were coming for her. And she had 2 bags full of silver
Does Redstone not work in this
on
world?
her way to Oklahoma. And she said it as loud and as long as she could to the top of her lungs.
Hold on, bro. Trust.
One time, and then she said it again the second time.
Bro, way to go.
Don't come any farther.
Bro, way to go.
And gunshots were fired. 2 men. One died and the other injured. Federal Reserve note, the United States of America. It was a note. That means that there was silver that backed that paper up. For every dollar, $2, $5, it was counted up and weighed out in silver. See why it's Honest Abe and I Cannot Tell a Lie George Washington? Because everybody else is cunning with fake money. Now let's get to the Federal Reserves. We know who the Federal Reserves belong to. Washington State's Washington. In Washington State's Capitol building. Because the Federal Reserves is the Western's money. And that ain't got nothing to do with the District of Columbia. Let's talk about the National Treasury. The National Treasury is what the District of Columbia has created to mimic the Federal Reserve. See, if George Washington is not acknowledged as a president, there's no way that Washington, D.C. has any rights to the Federal Reserve. The National Treasury. The National Treasury is where you get your fake money, your fake dollar bills, your $100 bills, your $10 bills. Because it's really not a note. Because unless they have silver for every single bill, then it's all a hoax. It's all fake. It's not real. It's not Big Ben. It's not 100. So as time went by, we have grown accustomed to passing this piece of paper around as if it is worth something. As a matter of fact, we get up early, we work late, and we hurt ourselves emotionally and physically. I mean, to the point of sickness. And we still want to crawl out of that bed because we got to go back to work for that money. Wet money. There is no money. There was no money when the National Treasury was created during the New Deal. And there is no money today. See, the New Deal said that you didn't have any money. You were broke. There was broke and broker. And broke needed to take care of broker. And maybe y'all can get some Social Security. But you're broke. And you probably don't need some welfare or whatever else. Because the Westons got all the fucking silver. So, the paper is good if you say the paper is good. But I say, you know what? Why use paper? We should just use some banana chips. Don't you like banana chips? We should just use banana chips for money. It had gotten so out of control that they started using pennies, coppers. It was just metal. So they started nickel. Here, a nickel's a nickel. And the pennies, copper, they was just getting out of control. And whose face you want to put on it? We could put Curious George's face on it. On $1 billion bill. Because it's not real. And there's nothing to bag it up. It says that this is a note. And then at any time you can trade it in for $1 for 4 pieces of silver. I want to trade my dollars in for silver. Who do I take it to? They tell you that the silver quarters are collectible items and they're out of circulation now. And so is the real ones and the real twos and the real fives. And they can keep on creating as many pieces of paper as they want. But where's the silver at? Keeping it Big Ben. I just assume, people, do you want a chip in your hand? Do you want a chip in your head? I'm thinking banana chips. Just keeping it Big Ben.
Are you parking it this way? Dude,
I'm wanting this U.S. government and God we trust to
It looks
please,
like a
please,
it looks like a beetle
I
walking.
want my 4 silver quarters for this dollar bill right here. I don't want this. The paper is worth
Someone
nothing.
check the windows.
The moment that they start printing this, this man didn't have shoes on his feet. So how can he promise
What are
you?
you doing?
Now remember, $1 is a whole pound of silver, because a quarter
No
is
way.
0.25 of silver. This man is promising $100.
What the
Can somebody please
This
do the
man
math
is a
for me?
dollar playhouse, bro.
See, if 4 pieces of silver
You made a bouncy house, bro.
is $1,
You added more. Look at how tall it is.
40 pieces of silver
Bro, what
is
color is this
$10.
silver?
400 pieces of silver.
Oh my god.
That's how much $100 bill is worth. 400 pieces of silver. Just keeping it Big Ben. What is it really worth?
Listen, listen. Can I tell you what it is? Seriously, hold on. Is that a C? Bro, this is smart people.
It is worth nothing if it's a note and you don't have the silver to bag it up with.
Bro, look at this.
The National Treasury is what Washington, D.C. created to again mimic George Washington's Federal Reserves. They created the National Treasury because Chicago's con artists forced them to. After Benjamin took the con to Chicago, that's right, Benjamin Franklin took the con to Chicago to put a whole bunch of counterfeit money. When the reality is that when DC, Washington DC built their capital, they took it over and then they started printing counterfeit money. Because if you don't have the silver
What is this?
to back up this note, and it says it's legal
No
tender.
way.
It says it's legal tender. It says that anytime I don't want this dollar and I want my silver quarters, you better have them for me.
I'm about to cry, bro.
But we know you don't have silver dollars. We know you don't have silver at all. We know you don't have silver quarters. And we know this piece of paper is probably better spent
I'm
wiping the
taking a
snot
picture.
from my nose.
I'm taking a picture, bro. What is this? I can't even see it.
But for the love of it,
MasterCard pump.
what shall we do?
Dude, bro, we have to get rid of this picture.
Why did the stock market crash?
Bro, this looks like a telephone booth, bro.
Why do we have a Great Depression?